Tonight, WCTV Investigates is back with a new series going in depth on a big issue here in the capital city.
Gun violence, taking innocent lives and impacting families right here in our community. That includes the family of Felicia Gilliard.
I have good days and I have bad days. And when I lost my granddaughter, it's just like, I really didn't want her to live.
Tonight, we are taking an in-depth look at where the guns in these crimes are coming from and what's being done to prevent more tragedies.
Our Zach Dahlheimer joining us now with part one of our Tracking the Trigger series. Zach, a lot of stolen guns in Tallahassee and Leon County seem to be coming from one particular source.
Yeah, that's right, Julie and Jacob. Law enforcement and local leaders have been sounding the alarm for more than a year about guns stolen from cars all around town, and it is a growing issue nationwide, according to a new report from the gun safety group Everytown. Take a look at this. They say in cities that report crime data to the FBI, on average, at least one gun is stolen from a car every 9 minutes, and the rate of gun thefts from cars is triple what it was a decade ago. Now, we're crunching numbers for what we got from law enforcement and speaking with the top cops in the city and county about stolen guns being linked to crimes in our backyard.
All the memories are good. My phone just full of her.
Felicia Gilliard often looks at photos and videos like these of her granddaughter, Marlacia Kitchen.
She was just so funny and so smart. And she wasn't the average, like, 16, 17-year-old girl.
At 16, she graduated from high school and had dreams of attending FAMU and starting her own clothing line. But those dreams sadly came to an end on October 24th, 2022.
She was shot 10 times.
Gilliard says Marlacia was shot and killed at a Southwood apartment complex. She was only 17 years old. How has this impacted your family?
All days are not the same. For me, it's just like a nightmare. It's just like, I can't believe she's gone. I'm just gonna be honest with you. If it weren't for the grace of God, I wouldn't be able to stand and even talk to you today.
Since her granddaughter's death, Gilliard is speaking out about local gun violence, trying to help other Big Bend families.
Because it could be your child next.
For several months, WCTV Investigates has been looking into local gun violence, requesting data from every local law enforcement agency in the Big Bend.
These guns are coming from the citizens of our community.
Leon County Sheriff Walt McNeil is getting the word out about stolen guns used in crimes.
It's very rare that you'll find someone who's involved in a crime that uses a gun that actually purchased that gun, him or herself.
Data from LCSO shows out of 269 total firearms recovered in 2023, 8 were marked as both stolen and recovered. 33 were seized as evidence in cases where a convicted felon was involved. But how does this issue look from the lens of Tallahassee police? We went through their data and sat down with Chief Lawrence Revel. For Chief Revel, like Sheriff McNeil, teaching people about the impact of gun thefts is a top priority.
By far, hands down, the vast majority in our community are coming from unlocked vehicles. Guns left unsecured in unlocked vehicles.
Data from TPD shows in 2023, 694 firearms were impounded by TPD. 204 firearms were stolen from vehicles. 191 were stolen from unlocked vehicles. That's compared to 2022, where 637 were impounded, 207 stolen from vehicles, 194 stolen from unlocked vehicles.
The people in our community oftentimes go through neighborhoods and they what I call neighborhood car bingo.
The car pulls into a neighborhood, kids get out, they go to both sides of the road, and then they just work their way up the road, and they're just walking driveway to driveway, pulling door handles. If the door opens, they go in. If it doesn't, they move on.
He's gonna bail out windows.
This TPD body cam video details one instance of this from earlier this month.
Put your hands up! Hands up! Hands up!
The department says officers responded to an apartment complex in Southwood about someone pulling on car door handles. When they got to the scene, officers saw the suspect speed off in a car. Ultimately, officers say the 19 and 17-year-old suspects face a slew of charges, including grand theft of a firearm, after police found 2 stolen firearms after searching the vehicle, including one modified to function as a fully automatic handgun.
We know most of our violent crime is committed by basically 14 to 24-year-olds. So it's it's not ironic that a lot of that same age group are the ones that are out stealing guns and things out of vehicles, and then they sell them on the street. It's become so prevalent and so easy. We are making it as a community so easy that it's becoming a real problem for us.
Revel points to a TPD case from earlier this year. Officers say a man assaulted employees and shot rounds into the ground after a dispute at a local tire store. He then drove off to a nearby complex and left the gun in his car before running away. Multiple local agencies were involved in the search.
We were able to arrest him, but we did find where that gun was stolen out of an unlocked vehicle. And thereby used in the commission of that crime.
In addition to the past couple of years, WCTV Investigates also requested data from TPD going back to 2019. When comparing year to year, the numbers for both firearms impounded and those stolen from vehicles dropped in 2020, but then went up in 2021 and 2022. I asked Revel about these numbers.
COVID affected so much, and it certainly affected crime numbers. And so more people were home. You're not as likely to go and check somebody's vehicle if you think they're home.
Revel believes making sure guns are secured in locked vehicles or taking them indoors can help.
We could cut down on the amount of guns that are available to those committing crimes in our community.
Now, our head of investigations, Chastity Maynard, is working right now to get the other data that we got from other agencies so far from around the Big Bend. Right now at the story on WCTV.tv. And guys, we're just getting started with our Tracking the Trigger series. In part 2, we're taking a look at another trend police here are watching called straw purchasing. Our photojournalist Sam Thomas and I talked with local law enforcement and one Big Bend gun shop owner about what they're seeing and how they're trying to stop all this. We'll have that part of that story tomorrow right here on Eyewitness News at 6.
And it's so disturbing to think that somebody could take a gun out of an unlocked car and commit a crime, a violent crime, a deadly crime. It's very disturbing. So please lock those doors.
Yes.
Let's not make this easy for anyone.
Seems like a simple task, but it's creating a big problem. All right, Zach, we'll see you tomorrow here at 6. This week, WCTV Investigates is going in-depth on gun violence in the capital city. Last night at 6, we heard from families and law enforcement about stolen guns used in crimes and where those guns are coming from.
For the most part, you're going to see weapons that are on our streets that come from this surrounding area, the Big Bend, if you will, Gaston County, Leon County, and let's say Jefferson and Wakulla counties.
Yeah, and a big focus has been on guns stolen from cars in Tallahassee and Leon County. But tonight our Zach Dahlheimer is back, and he's speaking with law enforcement who say some stolen guns are coming through a different trend.
Yeah, Zach, what is this trend called?
Well, good evening, Julie and Jacob. We're talking about straw purchasing. Now, the ATF says this involves a person buying a gun for someone who wants to avoid being associated with the transaction and could involve someone who is not allowed to own a gun, like a convicted felon. Now, this could complicate investigations if that gun is later used in a crime. Now, we asked law enforcement how prevalent this is, and we spoke with a local gun shop owner about how they're trying to stop all this from happening.
This is a Glock 48. Firearms can be very dangerous in the wrong hands.
Through his many years in law enforcement and as the co-owner of Talon Range and Tactical Outfitters,
This can be a 16-round capacity gun.
Charlie Strickland considers himself a teacher.
You have a duty to keep them out of the wrong hands.
In addition to selling firearms and helping oversee their range in Gadsden County, Strickland's shop also strives to educate people about owning guns safely and curbing what's known as straw purchasing in the Big Bend.
The intention was for that firearm to go to another individual, and you're hiding the fact that you're giving that gun to another individual.
Jeff Thayer is the resident agent in charge for the ATF's Tallahassee field office.
We try to get in front of following the guns.
For many years, the ATF has been getting the word out about straw purchasing through their campaign called Don't Lie for the Other Guy. The goal being to reduce straw purchases, which the ATF says undermines laws designed to prevent gun violence.
Now you've got a purchasable weapon that goes into our community and nobody knows who belongs to it because there's no registration.
Both Leon County Sheriff Walt McNeil and Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revel are keeping tabs on straw purchasing.
We know that it occurs.
However, Revel says TPD doesn't see it as a major issue in Tallahassee, with McNeil adding it rarely happens in the capital city. But when it does, they believe it can be hard to track and can complicate investigations if that firearm is used in a crime.
There's a weapon out there that you may think Johnny owns it, But Johnny sold it to Bill, Bill sold it to Will, and that gun's way out. And so we've got to now track that gun back to find out exactly who now has it, who's the last person that actually has it, who has it now. And that's a difficult thing for us to sometimes figure out.
I asked Chief Revel, what does straw purchasing look like in the capital city?
Most of the time, it's girlfriends. You have girlfriends or friends or people that are in your group, you know, that don't have a criminal record and can buy a gun that will go in and buy it for you.
And when does straw purchasing happen in Leon County?
It usually happens at gun shows, but not from the dealers who are here in our community.
Chief Revel agrees.
There's, you know, situations where groups of people will go in and crowd a particular vendor to make them very busy, so they're not paying as much attention, and they're just trying to get people through because, hey, these are sales, you know, and so maybe they're not as particular about the details as they need to be.
People aren't looking at those as being straw purchases. They just simply say, hey, you've got a gun, I'd like to have it, will you sell it to me? And you say yes, and that gun now changes hands.
Revel says TPD works closely with the ATF and vendors when gun shows come to town to prevent straw purchasing.
Our officers are there, some of them in uniform, some of them not, because we know those are the type situations where straw purchases most often happen.
Strickland says he and his colleagues have strategies in place to try and look out for and prevent any potential straw purchases.
Well, all of our employees go through a training program here at the counter. At our counters, we're required to look for any signs that someone might be making a straw purchase. If through conversation we pick up that they're buying it for someone else, or they're on the phone with someone, or there's any indication, then we have to screen for that, and we will not allow that purchase to go through if we get the sense that that's what's going on.
Now, straw purchasing has steep penalties, including a max of 15 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. Now, if it's proven the gun was used in a crime, that max sentence goes up to 25 years. And you can read more about the ATF's Don't Lie for the Other Guy campaign right now on this story at WCTV.tv. We are working on getting that up on our website as we speak. Also, Sheriff McNeil says he's open to doing a campaign to teach people right here in Leon County about straw purchasing.
Yeah, seems like an important problem to highlight, but Zach, we understand you're also focused on solutions as well to curbing gun violence in our area.
Yeah, Jacob, in our final report of this series, we're going in depth on what else is being done to curb what we've discussed, gun violence overall especially. We're also getting a look at new technology that's helping TPD and other agencies right here in the Big Bend cut down on gun crime investigations and get answers quickly for families. Stay tuned for that tomorrow night at 6.
Right, and I love that don't lie for the other guy. I think that probably applies to life in general, right?
Right. For
truth.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you. This week, the WCTV Investigates series Tracking the Trigger has gone in depth on gun violence, including the issue of stolen guns.
We showed you earlier this week many of the guns are taken from unlocked cars. Local law enforcement and those who have experienced gun violence firsthand want everyone to take this issue seriously.
Something has to be done to rattle us enough as a community to say, hey, this is important and we're not going to do this anymore.
It's my child now, but it can be your child tomorrow. It could be any of us. It could be me or you.
So what's being done to tackle these issues, and what else can we do to drive down gun violence in our community?
In part 3 of our series, our Zach Dahlheimer and photojournalist Sam Thomas look at how some new technology is playing a role in this mission.
About a month ago, the Tallahassee Police Department announced it's now using the National Integrated Ballistic Information Network, or NIBIN program. The new technology is already helping law enforcement get answers and get them quick.
The faster we're able to turn around the evidence, the faster we're able to solve crimes.
Tallahassee Police Chief Lawrence Revel is talking about what you're seeing here. NIBIN is administered by the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, or ATF. It's TPD's new in-house resource, tracking firearms used in crimes in the Big Bend and nationwide.
NIBIN is a very important tool that ATF has developed in order to point an arrow or a laser at what might be a problem area.
Jeff Thayer is the resident agent in charge at the ATF Tallahassee field office. He says NIBIN doesn't necessarily target people, but guns through shell casings.
It's like a fingerprint. every time a round is fired out of a firearm, it leaves special marks and indentations on that shell casing that then we can link up through a computer, through technology that can maybe link two shootings together or two incidents together that maybe could help provide some leads for our detectives and our investigators.
It's just a way of tracking and keeping up with the weapons that are out there.
Leon County Sheriff Walt McNeil says the sheriff's office also uses NIBIN, collaborating with TPD and the ATF to solve more crimes in our community.
And it allows us to connect those dots.
Revel believes one benefit is cutting down time with investigations.
The turnaround time went from a couple of weeks to 3 weeks at times, sending them off to ATF, to now doing them in-house when we can have a 2 to 3 day turnaround.
In addition to seeing how guns move and are used in different crimes, Revel says they've been able to connect several cases through NIBIN. One example is when TPD officer Caleb Babb was shot in the line of duty last September.
LCSO had had an attempted murder less than 24 hours before Officer Babb was shot. And within another 24 hours, we were able, through the casings in both, and we found the gun at the scene where Officer Babb was shot, we were able to connect that gun to both shootings, to both cases, and eventually able to solve those cases and arrest all 3 suspects that were involved.
Revel says the 3 suspects in this case were arrested within 3 days.
That would have never have happened that quick had we not had that technology in place. We can start to piece those things together because these guns move, in the community, whether it's through a straw purchase initially, obviously through our biggest issue, which is unlocked vehicles.
At his Gadsden County gun shop, Charlie Strickland's focus is on safety and security to help curb straw purchasing and guns stolen from unlocked cars, whether it's teaching gun owners at his store.
This would be difficult to steal.
Or selling lock boxes for cars and homes.
Even though you have the right to have a firearm, you have a right to carry a firearm, you have a right to store one in your vehicle, you have the right to keep one in your home, you also have the responsibility to make sure that it's put in such a way that it can't easily be stolen.
Back in Leon County, both TPD and LCSO are vocal about gun safety with public awareness campaigns and gun lock giveaways. As law enforcement continues their work, Revel believes it's important residents do their part to prevent more guns from landing at the center of local crimes.
I'm not at the point where I think legislation needs to happen to make gun owners that have their guns stolen responsible, legally responsible, but we're probably getting close, and I don't want it to get to that point. Something has to be done to rattle us enough as a community to say, hey, this is important and we're not going to do this anymore.
Meanwhile, Felicia Gilliard, whose granddaughter was shot and killed nearly 2 years ago in the capital city, is now involved with the Tallahassee Urban League. She also hopes others in her community take this issue seriously.
Let's just try to make it a better and a safer place.
In Tallahassee, Zach Dahlheimer, WCTV Eyewitness News.
ATF agents in Tallahassee say more NIBIN sites are expected to come online this year and heading into next year.
Our I-team spent many months combing through data from law enforcement across the Big Bend. We have numbers from 9 counties, and you can find what the trends look like in your area right now on WCTV.tv under our Special Reports tab.